After Sonic Frontiers, the game had to step up and bring that step in the right direction towards perfection. I was pretty cautious about that, but this is where Sonic needed to go. This game is an incredible little gem, a polished, joyful, and hype experience which combines both the best of the boost formula that Generations once perfected and later entries, including Frontiers, failed to truly replicate, and Frontiers' very own open zone formula. Last time I shared my impressions without any spoilers. This time, however, I will yap about every single little thing, so be aware. Before we get our grabby little hands on this though, a few words on the other half of this new package. Sonic Generations was a good game, and it stays that way. Don't look at me like that, Sonic Colors didn't have that chance after all. Of course, I'm not talking about Sonic Generations just to mention that the Steam version finally is rid of that ugly, stupid, barely functional launcher it originally had. There is some controversial element to it, you see. Most of the dialogue in the game has seen a rewrite and redub. Some cutscenes even seeing some new animations. A lot of people have at least mixed feelings about this. I'm in that camp myself, and some just straight up hate it. Now, here's my stance on it. I feel like this rewrite had 3 goals. Number 1, making Generations actually take itself seriously, and I can get behind that one. See, the base game has this episode of a cartoon vibe to its tone that, yeah, coming from Unleashed and Colors isn't too hard to solo, but will be quite disturbing coming from Frontiers all. Hell, just Shadow Generations, you know, the other half of the exact same game. Now, there is something to be said about rewriting the past and not giving an option to experience the old dialogue. I can hear that. I absolutely think that's somewhat stinky too, but regardless of whether we excuse it, I think this new tone works well. Not too serious, but not too light. Number 2, aligning characters to behave more like their current interpretations. Your mileage may vary on that one. I personally think a lot of the changes make sense. A lot of the elements that were changed were basically just slapstick humor, or just things that were real, like Knuckles commenting on classic Sonic gaining weight. Not saying it's anti-character or something, it just... I don't know. It feels weird. I personally feel like it makes sense while simultaneously getting what irks people is what I'm getting at. Maybe we're getting too much rid of the humor in Generations? I don't know. Maybe a better balance was possible. Number 3, the compulsive need to tie everything together. So, much like Frontiers beforehand, this new rewrite feels the need to reference past elements and show that, yes, they're definitely super canon, and no, you did not forget about them. I'm of the opinion it wasn't that bad in Frontiers, and that story I very much expected to be a band-aid of a very, very deep wound. And you know, that's just part of the whole deal. Generations though? I know this whole game is about Sonic's past, but sometimes it felt a bit on the nose even for me. Gens using Sonic's old voice direction also definitely doesn't help. On the nose voice lines worked fine enough with Frontier's calmer, more mature Sonic, but with Generations also on the nose delivery, yeah, it really adds up. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag, although I don't feel like it's quite the deal breaker some people are making it out to be. This game was thankfully not ruined, it's not Color's Ultimate. And now that we know that half of the package is at least good, let's just not waste any more time, shall we? Man, this game is a little miracle. Shadow Generations combines boost formula stages with an open zone world hub. Add some really good story, silly character interactions, and actual projection value on levels and cutscenes both, and there you have it. This half a game ends up being one of our best games, mayhaps the best even for some. I'm still pondering the last one, personally speaking, but I can absolutely vouch for the first one. Let's tackle this point by point, shall we? The gameplay of this game wins because it understands a very simple lesson. The people do want their Sonic stages to be cinematic and look cool. They just don't want them to be only that. Force's stages look good, but that's about it. Frontiers required a bit of tinkering with Sonic's physical properties to feel good, which honestly is still what we could even do. But cyberspace still felt a bit awkward to control. This though, as soon as you take control of Shadow in Space Colony Arc, everything feels just right. Using the homing attack on an enemy actually uses Chaos Snap instead, teleporting you to said enemy, which is useful to avoid certain obstacles or attacks. The Chaos Spear returns from 06, allowing you to stun enemies and break their defenses. The way you get some boost gauge also reverted to something closer to Unleashed, you get by collecting rings only. Because see, defeating enemies charges your Chaos Control gauge instead. Once it's full, you can stop time for 5 seconds, which neutralizes a lot of obstacles and opens up new ways, sometimes even allowing you to quickly speed up through certain trails that appear on the map. It's a bit of an adaptation of Shadow's powers in his own game, but giving you more control over it. Once again, the game finds a very good balance with this mechanic. Chaos Control never feels mandatory, but you can use it to make some pretty smart skips and it just feels so good. Upon this very nice framework, the game also adds quite a bit of mechanics due to the Doom powers, enhancements you can gain by killing certain levels and just letting Shadow get at least somewhat possessed. Jesus Christ. Let's go over them in order. Doom Spears, an upgrade to Chaos Spear that lets you hold the button to aim at 5 enemies at once. Not too flashy, not annoying, simply an additional input that's sometimes used to test your quick thinking. Doom Blast, an upgrade to homing attack that lets you pummel an enemy, launch them in the air, and propel the both of you forward. That one is more exciting already. It also has some cool applications when there's often a better spot to launch the enemy at, if you keep your eyes open, that is. Doom Surf, so instead of being able to boost on water, you get to ride a little manta ray and do spin attacks to deflect moves. Honestly, I was a bit scared of it at first, when it was in the trailers, but it controls nicely and it's fun. It gives a quick break from all the breakneck speed stuff while not feeling slow in itself, which again is a good balance. I'm saying that a lot. I'm not saying how much I say this, but this game is always so good at balancing the different components it implements. Doom Morph! This one turns you into a squid-like thing, which lets you swim in some corrupted elements. Think Mephiles Darkness or Chaos Island Cyber Corruption. And it also lets you swing on orbs midair to reach higher places. So you know, it's fine enough, it's fun enough. Once you get used to the controls, I had a lot of troubles getting used to it first time around. Unlike Final Horizon's Perfect Parry, it's not even for lack of opportunities to train. You're given plenty, even just been connected in my brain for a long time. Doom Wings, our final power is fucking amazing. Collect 50 rings and enable it to get invincibility and the ability to freaking fly, as long as you have boost gauge. This is nuts, this is really nuts. More than Supersonic also has flying, but it tore through his ring count way too much. This doesn't, and it's super fun. It opens up ways for really funky skips and it just feels right to control. I love it. Part of what makes those powers awesome is that they're always around and they always feel good to use without feeling like they overtake your base gameplay too much. 3D stages, 2D stages, bosses, and the hub world all make good use of them. The difficulty of this game feels just right too. I am of the opinion Sonic games should strive for the easy to pick up but hard to master mentality, and Shadow Generation fills the bills quite well. Playing the game is easy, but as you do it you start to pick up on how you could improve. You think on how you could use Chaos Control better, you start noticing the routes you're missing on, and on your own, you hit that restart button and go for it again, without a hint of frustration. I have talked about Sonic City on this channel, and one of the biggest flaws of this game, in my humble opinion, is how it shows its better side, but only on multiple playthroughs, even though the first one isn't good enough to justify going at it again. This game feels like it's handling that way better. You first go at it, great, and because you notice all of those things you could do, you want to have a second try, and it ends up being even better than the first one. All in all, the gameplay of this game is polished to hell. It feels great to control, it's adequately cinematic, and challenging to master. Let's talk a little bit about the stages in which we get to flex all of that kit. Most of the stages represented in Shadow Generations are stages that either have a big link with Shadow's history, or at least comes from games that have such a link. So, in order, we have Space Colony Arc, where it all began for Shadow, and based on Final Chase more specifically. Although it also has Final Rush elements, a lot of Final Rush actually, and other stuff from both Shadow 5 and Adventure 2. It's honestly so pretty in this game, and it feels appropriate, and just feels hype to go through. It really pumps you up for what's to follow. Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, the game that brought Shadow back to life. If I recall, it's also the level that starts the plotline of Is Shadow Actually an Android? From both that game and Shadow 5. It's surprisingly fun to play. I was wondering if they could do it honestly. Kingdom Valley from 06, aka one of the games my favorite incarnation of Shadow, and oh my god, it's so fun to play in this game. What? There's a ton of alt paths, clever chaos control spots, it feels quite beefy in terms of length, and it alternates between some gameplay phases with Doomsurf, and yeah, it's my favorite stage, oops, Sunset Heights, or Level from Forces. If I recall, it's not based on episode Shadow stages, but takes from both modern and classic stages. Can I just say that seeing both 06 and Forces stages in this formula feels so nice? They feel so fun to play. You can enjoy their feeling so much more now that you have a blast actually going through them. Chaos Island, surprising, very surprising pick to say the least. Frontiers doesn't feature a shadow and Chaos Island has no link with his history whatsoever. Or does it? Tinfoil had Fury time. Remember how the ancients fled the end, Chaos Emeralds in tow, to the Starfall Islands? The first thing they did was build weapons to protect them from the purple planetoid, using the power of the Chaos Emeralds. In Shadow Generation's version of Gerald's journal, we discovered that the Eclipse Cannon is a gift from Gerald to Shadow, to aid in his battle against Black Doom 50 years later. Even if it gets misused in the Metro 2. Both it and the Starfall Island's defense systems end up achieving the same goal. They are weapons built to protect our planet from alien threats, using the miracle of the Chaos Emeralds. I think it makes sense at least. Now you may be wondering, why Chaos Island in particular then? I'm not sure. I mean, Chaos Island as a name sounds significant to the ancients, right? I'd rather they might have given the name to the first island they've colonized. I don't know. At any rate, the level is fine. It's really impressive how they've adapted an open zone from Sonic Frontiers into a boost stage. The only problem I've got is that when I was still bad at using Doom Morph, it really impacted the stage a whole lot. I enjoyed it way more after I got used to Doom Morph. Radical Highway, the final and most represented stage of this game. One could say, almost a little bit overrepresented. See, stages in this game are split in two. Act 1 is in 3D, Act 2 is in 2D. Except Magical Highway, both acts are in 3D. And also, playing other stages, most Act 1 get interrupted by Doomslayers sending you to, a distorted version of Magical Highway. And those present very cool challenges and high finishes for the levels. But still, what's with this damn alien and his love for intense roads? This time is here. Drive me to Subway. Oh god, I'm never doing this again. But yeah, Shadow Gen stages, all super good to traverse and I love them. Wish we could have gotten at least one stage from Shadow of 5. It's weird where Starpolis or Black Comet at least aren't in. Shadow Generation is a follow-up to Shadow of 5, you know. Oh well. Challenges also make their return from Sonic Generations. This time they're mandatory, but also less numerous and thank god not as annoying and not bullshit. But you know what's even better than the hype stage? Bosses, bosses, bosses. Spoiler alert, Frontier set a bar way too high for even this game to clear. But bosses in this game still are leagues better than any non-Frontiers game we've ever had. They use Shadow's new kit to craft fights that go beyond the usual give chase and homing attack bosses we've had, and something that I found very cool is that they're probably phased. Their attack patterns and what you have to do to defeat them changes enough to properly mark an escalation in the fight. It may sound like a basic thing to do, but I think we've not done that nearly enough. Once more, let's go over the different bosses of this game. The Bio Lizard, it starts as a clever little fake out, using the same attack patterns that traumatized a lot of younger Adventure 2 players back in the day. Once you hit him once, he grows arms made out of those classic floating orbs that slam the ground, creating shockwaves that you gotta dodge, pummel the arms to destroy the orbs, and then you go to phase 3 where the Bio-Lizard attaches itself to the colony and tries to overwhelm you with projectiles. Use the Doom Spears to drive them away, which the Lizard and Shadow does this cool finishing move. I really like the detail of the orb being squished as Shadow uses it to propel himself. Overall, not hard, but definitely more fun to fight than his original incarnation. And it's nice feeling seeing that little guy in HD. Metal Overlord. Questioning the transgeneration started the perfect chaos of, modern hedgehogs just beating the hell out of opponents that used to require super form to defeat. This boss makes exclusive use of Doomsurf. I guess we had to at least have one boss to chase around, but using Doomsurf is new at least, so it gets a pass. You can also use well-timed jumps and chaos control trails to attack Metal Overlord directly. One infamous interaction is that Metal Overlord is immune to your chaos control, considering he's also able to use it. Some real JoJo situation, and I can't lie, I love it. And phase 2 he creates a whirlpool in the water that forces you to now fight in 2D, including an Ocarina of Time tennis with Ganondorf moment. And holy shit, is he throwing that ship at you with one hand? If you use Chaos Control here, you can even send the pieces of the ship back at him for an instant knockout. This is a cool game. Methylis the Dark, my personal favorite, using Doom Spears, Blast, and Morph. The whole arena is swarming with corruption, so you have to struggle to evolve Methylis' Assault long enough to then counterattack with Doom Morph. All the while, you can use Chaos Spears to shoot down the creatures he summons. Once you stun him, you can use either Doom Blast to get some quick damage, or pummel him for more. If you do the latter though, Methylis will start adapting to it and counter you using his energy blades, which is sick as fuck. But here's the thing, you can counter that using Chaos Spear, and that's amazing. In phase 2, he drops Dusty Desert Pillars on your ass, you have to scale up to reach and defeat the clones of himself. He then turns into a sort of golem with an energy shield you have to break using Doom Morph. Once that's done, his clones get ready to strike you down, but you can use Chaos Control and defeat them all, only to follow up with a cool finisher on Methylis himself, and Shadow delivering a little one-liner that I love. Yeah, that fight is it. And then there's Devil Doom. Surprisingly, I have less to say about that fight. It serves as a big old final test of all of the Doom powers. I can't say I didn't expect that, honestly, but still fun to do. Except the Doom Morph section. I don't really like that one. Special shout out once more to the finishing move. It's clean, it's hype, I love it. I'm easy when it comes to that kind of thing. Especially as the remix of All Hail Shadow plays once you reach Neo Devil Doom. The levels are good. The bosses are good. Now let's talk about the last blessed component of this game. So, Sonic Generations was very weak in storytelling. Shadow Generations is not like that. Sonic Frontiers was a story meant to reassert character traits, putting itself at the risk of repeating previous character arcs or having a story that felt a tad more uneventful than past entries. Shadow Generations is a bit more like that one. The game tells the tale of Shadow being haunted by his past. Once more, if he moved on from the memories in Shadow of 5, seeing them in the flesh once more, as well as having to fight Black Doom, definitely does a number to him. The Doom powers you get in this game are actually part of Black Doom's design, you see, to make Shadow the perfect soldier. The ability to fight hordes of weaker enemy, stronger enemies, in the skies or on the sea. All of them were to be given to Shadow, and Black Doom would either control his mind or steal his body. So, of course, Shadow decides to take that power and kick some Doomer ass with it. With more frontiers in this game, I'm noticing that Ian Flynn really seems to be comfortable in character-driven stories. Minding that cast interact with each other, be it Gerald and Maria or Shadow, and just the other white space inhabitants, like Rouge or Omega. It just feels natural for him. It's all very entertaining to read. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's heartwarming, and sometimes it's just touching. Yeah, cause Shadow entertains the thought of being able to change Maria and Gerald's fates, but we as an audience know better. Well, even Gerald knows. Throughout the game, he seems to piece together Shadow's grim behavior and desperate efforts can only mean one thing. When this is all over, when they return to their own time, whatever has happened for him, whatever will happen for them, must happen again. That kind of hurt me, honestly. When the curtains closes on it all, Shadow tries to plead to Maria to let him at least try and correct history. This was not meant to be. He will move on, he will let go of his anger, he will honor their lives and wishes. But grief is a convenient for life, even when you finally manage to kick them back from the driver's seat. Man. A great feature of this game comes from the fact bosses have mid-fight dialogue. It's really nice on Metal Overload, but once again I need to shout out Methylis in particular. Following his decanonization, is that a word, in 06, he fights Shadow in hope to put himself back in the timeline. And boy, his despair is showing. He gets angry Shadow doesn't remember him, he yells that he just wants to exist, it's peak. His voice actor also really fits his current disposition, I think. I really like the work on display. That being said, I would very much like them to try their hands at more plot-driven stories again, while still implementing those nice character moments. I sort of miss stories like Adventure 2, when you moved all around the world and you had big events like the moon being blown in half, Sonic's arrestation by gun, etc, etc. All that being said, I really liked my time here. We will touch on one last point real quick then. Frontiers and Shadow Generations deliver a great 1-2 punch. The former was an imperfect great time, and the latter is a polished amazing experience. If we, as a blue hedgehog loving people that can barely hold back from snapping each other's neck all the time, have to survive, we need the games to follow that direction. They know what they want to do in terms of story now, and they have settled in terms of gameplay at least. We need that same kind of quality in whatever next productions we get. And then, that's it, we win. We won't have to worry about the Sonic cycle or whatnot. We won't have to breath all that unhealthy copium. We will maybe move on from all the annoying, insignificant Twitter debates. I at least hope so. I'm so unbelievably happy we're living through this Hero Sonic when just things are good. Things are just good. The fun movie is still upcoming this year, so we're not even done. We might get more things to yap about, and that makes me really happy. We have quality and quantity. What's not to love? It's such a good time to be a Sonic fan, honestly. It has never been this easy. Maybe it has never been easy before, huh? Hey, that was a lot of yapping, huh? Shadow Generations just makes me happy. It's a game that makes me very, very happy. I hope for the foreseeable future this is the kind of videos I get to make when I want to talk about newer Sonic stuff. Just unbridled joy, the excitement at the future. Yeah, the Sonic Gens rewrite is kind of awkward, and there are a few talking points about Shadow Generations in itself, but all in all, it's as close to perfect as we've ever reached. I will yap more next time.